Hey, I'm Leemo. I'm a multi-season challenger player. I peaked top 50 last split. Last year when Gwen Jungle was viable, I played at 60% win rate to challenger, and now that it's viable again, I've been spamming it and decided to make a guide. I do more educational content and coaching in my Discord, so if you're interested, check the description and join up. For runes, we want to run Conquer. People will also do this setup, but generally this is worse. You don't really need first strike on Gwen, and you stack Conquer so fast that you're taking away from a lot of your early skirmish if you go first strike. So we're going to be taking Conquer. For second, we want to take Triumph. The other two in this tree aren't very helpful for us. Then we'll usually be taking Alacrity. Some games, if the enemy has a lot of CC, Tenacity will be powerful, so you can take Tenacity as well. Generally, though, we're going to be taking the Alacrity. And then third, we can either take Coup or Last Stand. Last Stand is better in my opinion, because the more damage that you do, the lower HP you are, the more you'll heal on Gwen, because Gwen heals based off the damage she does. So we should take Last Stand. Secondary tree, we go into Inspiration. We're going to take Footwear. Footwear is really useful because as Gwen, you want to be rushing your first item so you can be the same strength or stronger than enemy junglers. Early game, you're not super strong. And Footwear basically allows you to not put 300 gold towards boots like you normally would have to. The extra move speed that you get from it as well is really nice for Gwen because she wants to stick onto people as much as possible, as we'll see as I describe later on. And then second we'll be going Cosmic. Cosmic's really important for Gwen because she has Summoner Haste, and Gwen prefers to go Ghost over Flash. And the more Summoner Haste you have, the more you're going to be able to use Ghost, and the easier it is to be able to chase people down. You'll get more timers to fight where you're stronger than the enemy, so this is the best option. Some people will go Approach. Generally, if you have Ghost, you won't need Approach Velocity as well to stay on top of people, so I don't really like this option as much. I think this would be more okay if you're going Flash, but we prefer to take Ghost on Gwen because it kind of allows you to do Gwen things easier. Then we're taking Attack Speed, Adaptive, and then either HP or Armor. Armor if you're against basically all the AD junglers, and HP if you're against AP junglers, because there's no reason to go MR, because most of the AP junglers won't want to fight you early anyways, and HP just scales better. Now we're going into Practice Tool. As I mentioned earlier, Ghost is the sum we take on Gwen. Most of the other ones are quite useless. People can take Exhaust, Ignite, or Flash, but generally, in 99% of the games, you're going to be taking Ghost because it allows you to stick on people and do the Gwen things you want to do. For Gwen's Jungle Pet, we have basically all the options, but in the majority of the games, we're going to be taking the Blue Pet. As I mentioned earlier, Gwen as a champion likes to stick onto people, and the Blue Pet upgrade will allow you to do that the best, so you can weave in and out of bushes in just about every single position that you would be fighting in. So this pet will be the most consistent for our games. In games where we're going to take the Green Pet, it's usually when the enemy has a lot of burst and CC. So this Green Pet will allow you to kind of live through that easier. And as long as you don't get 100 to 0 as Gwens, usually you have enough sustain to heal back up. The third option would be Red Smite. This is when everyone against you is short range. You usually aren't going to have to run them down. They're going to come into you, but they also don't have enough damage to burst you. Those are the comps that Gwen's best into. So generally, if you get a Red Smite game, you're going to win anyways. So when in doubt, just go the blue one and you should be good. Now I'll be showing you guys how to do the healthiest clear possible on Gwen. It is going to differ from the fast clear that we did as you get quite low on that clear, but that'll be linked in the description if you want to watch that too. Generally, we're starting out around the same, but the biggest difference this time is we're kiting down towards Krugs instead of pulling it towards the bush and being over the wall. Here we want to drop 2 autos on Krugs, but I cancelled one. It's not a big deal. Generally, this clear is not meant for speed, it's just meant to be healthy, and that won't make much of a difference. Next, we're going to be kiting the mini Krug around the big Krug. As long as we stay on the opposite side, the little Krug will be generally unable to hit us, which is really good for us. Here I'm a little bit sad. I'm going to end up losing my Q stacks before I get to the Raptors, but once again, it's not a big deal. It would have been nicer. You're able to consistently do that, but I just happened to not get it here, so not a big deal. Pull our Raptors to the right, and then pull it towards the direction that we want to end up going. You'll see this consistently, just so we don't lose too much time. Make sure we finish these Raptors. Now this is important. Pause if you need to. We're going to E and then W over this wall, and all 3 wolves won't be able to hit us. And then we're going to use our 4-stack Q, use it a second time here. And we're just cutting out these camps towards our Gromp, which is the next camp we're going to be taking. Lead with Q, kite it up, kite it away from our blue buff because we want to end towards our blue buff. Get this all the way back. Holding our smite, using our W to get that extra magic resistant armor. just to keep us even a little bit more healthy. Gonna hit the blue buff. Neither of them get to hit us here, so we're just saving a bit of time by doing that, making the Grump come to us instead of us going to the Grump. Pull the blue buff away from the river and then pull it towards the river at the end. Just making sure to kite it so it gets as few hits as possible on us. And that's the full clear. Now we're gonna do the blue side clear. We start off by taking the blast cone over. This will give us an extra stack on our Q. And we'll make it so that it clears a little bit easier to execute. As you don't have to auto as late, you can auto earlier and still get your Q smite off. And you drag it towards the Grump. Drag the blue buff up towards the river and then down back towards the Grump. Once this gets to about 900 HP, we're going to start walking over to the Grump. Give it one more auto, walk into Grump, and then Q smite. We want to make sure that we hit the Grump with the center of our Q, just so that we get a bit more true damage onto it. And we'll still finish the blue buff with that. Same thing we did with Grump, we're going to do with blue buff. Kite it away from the camp and then kite it towards the camp. Going to wolves, we still have 2 stacks left from our Grump. Auto once and then drop a Q. Once again, kiting it away from where we're going next and then kiting it towards where we're going next. Try and hit all the wolves with the center of your Q. I don't care, but it's very helpful. It'll speed up your clear. 2 points Q here. This just makes the clear a bit healthier than the W variation. You don't get much value from your W on this side, so we may as well go Q. Kite the raptors to the right, maybe a bit less than I did here, and then kite it back down towards your red. Make sure to kite our red buff up again and weaving our spells between our autos. Drag it all the way up and then all the way back down. We're going to hold our smite because our spells come up at very convenient times to finish off this red buff. Let it burn till it's low enough for us to kill it with 1 auto so we don't get hit an extra time, and then pull our Krugs. 2 autos onto that mini Krug as you saw, and then we just kite out our big Krug until we can kill it with our smite auto. Finish off the mini Krugs and then we're done. 313 full clear, and we're 520 HP with a pot left. Now that we finished the clear, we're going to get into items. For our first base, we're going to want to look for Recurve Bow. It's 700 gold. The other option is Fiendish Codex. However, after testing, this is worse than Recurve Bow. You're going to get a faster clear with Recurve Bow. It's cheaper, so you don't need to get a kill or wait around to have access to it. And it's going to give you a bit more skirmish power in the early game, which is really important for a weak champ like Gwen. Ideally, if you can get 1050 gold, you can get Recurve Bow and Dark Seal. That is the best base for Gwen early. But you won't always get it, so it's not too big of a deal. We're going to be going Nashers first, as you might be able to tell from the Recurve Bow first base. Nashers for Gwen Jungle is the bread and butter. We absolutely love this item. It allows us to skirmish with a lot of champs. It gives us haste and AP as well, which is really, really important. We have crazy AP scalings on all of our abilities, so 100 AP early game is really great. And then second, we're either going to be going Riftmaker or we're going to be going Protobot. Now, the majority of games, we are going to be going Riftmaker, just because Gwen has a lot of value on the Omnivamp from this mainly. And Protobot is only really good if the enemy is immobile and generally squishy. Otherwise, it's going to get outvalued by Riftmaker for the most part. Now, you may be wondering, why Gwen Jungle? But I ask you, why not? Gwen is an extremely strong scaling champion that spikes at each item she gets, and just level 6. Though ganking on her can be difficult at times, as long as Gwen continues to cycle her camps throughout the game and stays on pace to get 3 items by a decent time, she can carry just about any game. Even though in top lane, we see her punished by being dove, beaten in split, or outright countered, Gwen Jungle is much harder to punish, especially in low elos where invading is less common. When you lock Gwen, you're basically telling your team that you are going to carry this game. You're not going to gank them unless it's absolutely won, and you're not going to take objectives unless you absolutely can. Gwen Jungle has independent win cons of the rest of the game. Her 1-item spike is extremely strong, her 2-item spike is extremely strong, and her 3 to 4-item spike is basically game over as long as you play well. So as Gwen Jungle, you just want to make sure that you're not taking unnecessary risks. You're taking your camps when they come up, you're taking objectives when they're guaranteed, and you're only going for ganks that aren't a waste of your time and are guaranteed a kill or something else to add on the map. You may think, because you're a scaling champ, if you fall behind it's doomed. But that's not true. Players in every single elo, even in Challenger, will fuck up somewhere. It doesn't matter when the fuck up happens, it just matters that you haven't thrown too hard before them. So if you fall behind, don't keep making plays in desperation. Know that if you hit 3 items, this game will be over and that the enemy will end up making a mistake and all you have to do is punish it to get back on your feet. Gwen doesn't need the enemy team to be the same items as her to win. She just needs 3 to 4 items, depending on how far ahead the enemy is. So just keep playing out the games, keep playing your game, and make sure that you're not making plays unless it's absolutely guaranteed. Now you may be wondering, when should you play Gwen Jungle? Most of these conditions are based on the enemy, though there is one key one for your allies. For the enemy, if they are low damage, or low range, or they need to dive into you to win, you can lock Gwen Jungle and you will be an absolute monster. You just gotta make sure you do the same thing as before, play for gold, play for guaranteed things, and as long as you have your items, if the enemy dives into you, or needs to get close to you, or doesn't have enough damage to kill you, you will carry the game as Gwen. Now for your allies, if your team has lots of setup like Nautilus, Alistar, Ahri's good at this, Lissandra's good at this, Ornn's okay for top lane, all these champions that set up for you to carry, those are the best games to play Gwen. The first thing for Gwen Jungle is make sure to look for when the enemy clumps or has to clump. In this clip, you're going to see that the Zeri and Karthus are forced to step beside each other because of their initial positioning. So I make sure to play ahead and dive to where they are and use my ult and Q to blow them the fuck up. In this next clip, we're going to see that I'm chasing down a Renekton, and I hold my R3 for as long as possible to time it either at the same time as when I'm using my Q, or I'm holding it until after he uses his dash to make sure that he can be chased down with the slow. Now this next clip is pretty normal. At the beginning, the enemy uses all their spells, so I chase them down, knowing they don't have the damage to kill me. But the second part of the clip is what's important. My Nautilus uses his hook here, and my Jax uses E when I don't have any way to actually do damage to this Renekton. So I want to wait till my Nautilus has Q again, and then go in again, making sure that I can hit my spells, and we can kill the enemy. Now, if you don't want to play Gwen Jungle now, there's something wrong with you. This was the most informative guide of all time, and you know everything you need to know to play Gwen Jungle. So go on, get out there and play this amazing champion and have some fun. If you enjoyed this type of content, please subscribe and join my Discord. It would help me a lot as a new content creator. And if you have any questions, please ask below. Take care, everyone.